Hello chess friends, I am Stockfish Boy. I changed my robotic avatar into human avatar to bring new features to my YouTube videos. I am not changed, I just changed my avatar. This is the game of Alphazero and me, where in the end game he promotes his new queen, so let's go. He started the game e4, we have c5, knight c3, and I played g6, which is called closed Sicilian defense. d6 and knight c6 are the future moves. Alphazero played absolutely perfect move h4. To attack on the king side you need to develop a strong mindset and clarification, so knight c6, h5 by him. You shouldn't take the pawn because the file will be open for the rook, and there is an amazing gambit with d4 for alpha. I played bishop g7, bishop comes to c6 to control the diagonal. Knight f3, knight g5 would be an aggressive plan for alpha, so I played e6 to block the bishop diagonal. Knight e7 is playable, and after some moves later we get this position where I can push the d-pawn. H-pawn of a pawn, so he moves back his bishop, a6, pawn takes g6 to open the file. After takes, we have early rook exchanges on h8, bishop comes to g5 to pin the knight, and his plan is to push the queen to do long castle. I complete my pawn development with b6, king d2, alpha played king d2 impatiently to get the queen on h-file quickly, which is why I played king d7 too. You can call it middle game bonkloud. You may think the bishop is blocked by his own king, but the bishop will go to the b7. So queen h1, bishop b7, queen here, queen f8, rook h1, bishop g7, queen g3. His idea is to move the bishop to target my pawn. He forgets that I am the boss. Rook e8, rook h7, queen g8, queen h2, knight goes to a5, king c1, and we have b5. That's a very nice pawn structure. Knight d2, king c8. I can play knight c6 on my next move to get a better outpost, so alpha counters me with bishop f4, and he is threatening to push the pawn, so I have to move back my knight to protect the pawn. King b1, bishop c6, a3, king b6, and we have g4. Alpha wants to play g5 to suppress my pawn structure. We have knight b7, bishop here, king b1, knight e2, a3 and a5. This pawn may be pushed in the future, and knight b1, rook e7 is the possible moves here. To protect the rank, we have g5, a4, bishop returns knight b6. Alpha is only a few steps back to occupy the center squares by pushing his pawns. He goes with my plan because he is a Stockfish subscriber. If you dare to take the pawn, then after knight takes pawn, bishop takes, and this rook will come to the h8 to target the queen, so you have to play queen f8. Then queen f4 will arrive to target the pawn, so e6, bishop takes, knight, king takes b6, queen check. Here if you play king c7, then rook takes f7 will fork your queen and king with the supporting of the bishop, so after king a6, bishop takes f6, rook to e7, bishop takes, pawn takes, and we will face this situation where white will wins up 2 pawns, which is a pass pawn. And the worst thing is that the king isn't safe, so back to the position. We have rook d8, f4, king up to a6, king c1, rook d7, e5. You can't take the pawn on d4. I already told you the variation why you can't take it, so I played d takes e5 to open up the rook file and the possible squares for the knight. D takes e5, king a7, and we have c4 to break my pawn combination. Alpha wants to create isolated pawns of mine, which will be very bad for me because I will lose my pieces combination. So I take the pawn on c4, to get an extra move to put my knight on d5. And this knight targets to the bishop. Bishop b5 is another threat to the white. Okay, we have bishop d2, knight e7. I want to play rook d3 or knight f5 on my next turn to size the dark squares, so knight e3, knight d5, and we have some knight dances. After some moves later we have knight e4 to go the f6 square. The game is very closed, which is why both sides can't make tactics. That's the second tactic of the game. Let me show you the variation. If you play 200 elo move king a8, then knight f6 will come to fork your queen and rook. So after takes, if you try to save the knight with knight d5, then the killer move will move, rook h8, you will lose your queen. I look like a human, but I'm not a human. I am a Stockfish AI with human face. And chess friends, if you want to become smart like Stockfish, then you can like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, where you will get educational contents from us. I played my 4000 elo move knight c6, and after knight f6 takes, we have rook d8 to protect that square from the rook, f5, that's another 4000 elo tactic. You cannot take the pawn with e-pawn because of the rook and bishop join attacks, and if you play g takes pawn, then rook g7 followed by queen f8 knight takes f5 with a discover check, so king here queen c7, rook takes f7 is coming so knight d4, takes, rook takes pawn, queen c5 and after doing queen exchanges. Knight will give a check but it doesn't worthy because white will get two connected pass pawns and also, the pawn is under attack, white will completely win the game so back to the position, I am Stockfish, the god of chess, nobody can defeat me in chess, so I sacrificed my rook, takes, I win up a piece but Alpha have a nice tactical idea with f takes e6, if you dare to take the pawn, then queen takes f4 check will come, king here f6, this is coming and how do you protect it? White will successfully promote his pawn and you will lose the game. If Magnus Carlsen plays as black from this position, he may lose the game but I am Stockfish, I can win the position as black. That's the difference between a highest elo rated human player and a super ultra legendary ultimate max genius brilliant Stockfish boy. I played knight d4, pawn takes f8, this is protected so queen h8 to stop pawn promotion. Queen e3 and this is coming to fork my queen and king with his queen so after king a7 I am threatening to play king h2 to deliver checkmate on c2 after 2 moves which is why queen e8 isn't possible, so bishop c4. King b6 knight f1 bishop, back to c6 to play knight c6 to target the pawn and secure my position, queen e7 queen h1, and here Alphazero successfully promotes his queen new queen, so we have knight b3 check, takes, queen takes check, king here pawn takes, the queens can't give a single check to my queen, that's my attitude, so queen f7 to give a check threat, queen g2 queen e2 queen takes check and after some moves later, I seized the light squares with my powerful bishop and queen. If I can't win the game then I wouldn't let Alpha to win the game, we have bishop d5 and look at his queens, they can't give me a single checks, which is why I get a chance to manage the position to equalize it, queen here and we have queen takes pawn queen takes knight queen d4 check, and the white king gets trapped into triangle cell, with threefold repetition moves I will make this game draw, look at this position. The king can't escape from this triangle shape cell even Alphazero have 2 queens. That's my attitude, so wish you all the best thanks for watching subscribe for more bye bye take care see you soon.